Hey guys, Colorado Dave here, just doing a knife desk day. As you can see, my desk is a mess. I got a lot going on. I sharpened a couple knives here earlier this morning, so that's why I have my KME out. The reason I'm doing this video though is to show you my Sebenza 31s. I have my large broken down right here, and I have my small broken down right here. Why did I break them down again? I just broke them down recently. I really wanted to put the lanyard pins, which are right here and right here, back into the knives. I don't want to carry a lanyard, but I want the pins in there, so I decided to go ahead and put some blue Loctite in there. And I'm going to Loctite them in on the one side, let them set up, which is what they're doing now. And figured I'd take the knives apart. And in doing so, I'd share with you a few things that I've learned about the knives, and just figured I'd share them with you. And for those of you who haven't seen one broken down, you can see what the knife looks like broken down as well. So we'll start over here with the small one, because I know there was a lot of questions on some of my comments from my videos in relation to seeing the stamp for the new S45VN on the blade. And where that stamp is, as you can tell, this is the show side of the blade. So on the show side of the blade, underneath the washer here, if you look very closely, I think you can see this on camera, I hope, there's a 45 there, and that is for the S45VN steel. So I automatically assumed on the S35VN steel, there would be a 35 underneath in the same spot. So my large knife is an S35VN. But if you look at the blade here, it does not say that. It says V. It just has a V there for Victor. And I'm assuming that's for S35V steel, but for VN steel. But I'm not positive, to be honest. Like I said, I'm a newbie to all this. I'm still learning. I am going to try to find out from Chris Reeve Knives what that V stands for. I'm assuming that stands for S35VN. If any of you guys know and you can let me know and save me a phone call, I'd appreciate it. Because at this point, I do kind of want to know what it is, just to confirm. Obviously, it's not a VG10 or anything like that, so I'm assuming it's S35V. VN steel. So anyway, that's what that looks like. The knife totally broken down. What you're basically looking at here, this is your lube for when I decide to lube it up when I put it back together. This is the rubbing alcohol swab that I use just to clean the parts. In addition to that, on the parts, what I had done, this is a beat up old strop that I have for my KME. And so what I do is I put just a little bit of this 4 micron on this strop. And then what I do is I actually take the washers and I lightly rub the washers on it. And I do that to kind of, you know how people say that they sand down their washers a little bit to make the knife just a little bit smoother? So I did that on both sides of my washers to smooth my washers out just a little bit. And I did it with both knives. So that's just kind of a little trick that does smooth it out a little bit. I have my lube out. I have my my wrench out. In addition to that wrench, this is the same wrench. So I use one on each side because when I am doing the pivot screw, when I'm tightening that down, I do want to make sure that it tightens down all the way. And so I have a tendency to use both. So that's why I have the other bit out as well. But it's the same size. I should know the size off the top of my head. I don't. But anyway. Here's the parts to your Sebenza as far as the blade we talked about. This is your actual lock bar here. On the lock bar, on the back side, this is the part that goes up against the tang of the blade that we've talked about multiple times before. That's your ceramic ball right there. That's the ceramic ball that sticks out just a little bit beyond the lock bar, and that's what's making a connection with the tang of the blade. So basically, when this is together, it's like this. So that's how that's holding together, if you can imagine that. If you can see how that works. That's how that holds together. So when we sit there talking about this flat tang of the blade and how it's going up against this round ceramic ball, there's your round ceramic ball, and then here's the flat tang of the blade. Now, on the old Sebenza 21, the difference is there was no ball there. And so that whole flat piece would go flat up against here. So that's kind of what makes this Sebenza 31 a little bit different than the 21. What I like about it is it makes for a really, really smooth action on the knife. There's no double detent feeling whatsoever when you're opening and closing the knife. You just feel this one solid sweeping motion of opening and closing it. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty awesome. Then over here is my back spacer, and then here is where I have my lanyard pin that I've basically got glued in there with just a little bit of blue Loctite. We're gonna let that set up for tonight probably, or today, and I'll probably try to put it back together later tonight. All the parts you can see, I just cleaned all the parts off. These are the screws for my frame to put my 2 scales back together. Your parts up here, that's your large washer, your small washer. That's going to be your collar, I guess, for lack of a better term, or bushing that's going to go inside the pivot. This is your collar for the pivot. This is your pivot screw. So that's pretty much all there is to it. You can see how simple these knives are, guys. There's not a whole lot to them, and I'm not like the most mechanical, handy guy in the world, and I feel very, very comfortable breaking these knives down. So we got the same thing over here on the large. All the parts are clean, same thing. I have that lanyard pin that I'm letting set up, and then I will put it back together a little bit later as well. But you do have all the parts here for that also. And again, this is basically the S35 VN versus the S45 VN. Like I said, I wanted to show you the stamp on both. So you guys got any questions, comments, feel free to leave them below. I am going to put these knives together in a couple hours. I may or may not do a video on it. We'll see how the day goes. But I did want to share that with you so you guys saw that and understood that those stamps are there. Thanks, guys. Colorado Dave here, signing off.